And welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. So glad to have you on board. You know, there's this big issue involving the debt ceiling, which is hanging over the Obama administration. Until a year and a half ago, Congress always just authorized the government to essentially raise the debt so that it would not default on the obligations that it has run up over the years. And then Congress made a big issue out of it a year and a half ago. And Congress is threatening to make another big issue out of it again when we run out of money, which will be in 2 months. The government, of course, you know, it's the full credit rating of the United States that is at issue here. So a lot of folks, even a lot of Republicans, acknowledge, look, we shouldn't be holding the debt ceiling hostage. But you just heard in our last segment that a lot of Republicans who want to do just that. Well, there's a novel idea that has been introduced about how the president can sidestep any sort of negotiations or having to deal with Congress on this. And here to explain it is Joe Weisenthal. You can follow him on Twitter at The Stalwart. He is deputy editor of Business Insider. He was also named Business Journalist of the Year in 2012. He's not some quack. Joe Weisenthal, welcome to the program. Thanks for being part of Take Action News.
Thank you for having me.
So, Joe, explain how this would work. A platinum coin worth $1 trillion that the Treasury would create. Why would they do that? What would they do with it? How would that somehow get the president out of this jam?
Right. So the idea is that you were running into this debt ceiling, which, as people should know, is a completely manufactured, artificial constraint on our spending. It doesn't have anything to do with running out of money. It doesn't have anything to do with how big the debt is. All it is we're hitting a point in our own law that says that we can't borrow anymore. So there is this technicality or this kind of loophole that people have discovered in the law where someone can mint a coin, or no, the Treasury specifically can mint coins out of platinum and of any denomination at the Secretary's discretion. And the idea is that the Secretary could then take that to the Fed, where the Treasury has a bank account, so to speak, deposit that coin, and then spend against that. Basically a way of spending in lieu of borrowing so that we would not default on our debts.
So again, it's based on this sort of arcane but law that is in effect that says basically for coin collectors, that the Treasury can in fact mint this particular coin. They ascribe the value to it. They give it to the Fed. The Fed suddenly has this in their account, and voila, we've got an extra $1 trillion.
Right. That is basically the idea. Now, the primary objection when people hear about this idea is, needless to say, they're like, oh, well, are we going to go down the route of Zimbabwe or Weimar Germany, where we're just printing money like crazy to cover our bills? And that concern is unfounded. In those cases, those countries were literally creating money for the purposes of just spending it, and so that the individual unit of a dollar or the individual unit of currency was collapsing because they were just creating so much money. This is not about getting around a monetary constraint. We're not running out of money. We're a very rich country. And that's something that people should know, that we're not bankrupt in any way. We're not close to being bankrupt. But that this is a way of sidestepping a legal constraint. And by putting it at the Fed, that enables the spending. But the Fed could then, to the extent that spending creates inflation because it's new money, there are ways for the Fed to sterilize that. There are ways for the Fed to take up some of that money back in, selling some of its own bonds. So this fear that people have that we're just going to have crazy hyperinflation is not founded. This is a very different kind of thing.
All right. What about the fear that there's not enough bullion or not enough platinum that we mine to be able to make a solid platinum coin?
It's not, so this is like a complete misunderstanding of what people say. The idea is not that we need $1 trillion worth of platinum. Right. That's not the point at all. The point is we could have $10 worth of platinum, and then as long as we could write the number 1 trillion on the coin.
But there are even some who suspect that we don't even have $10 worth of platinum.
It's red herring.
All right, but there are even some who suspect that we don't mine enough platinum, that we'd have to go out and, it costs, that we don't even have $100 worth of platinum in the United States reserves.
I don't believe that would be an issue. There's plenty of platinum out there being traded. It is an expensive commodity, but there's certainly enough platinum to create a coin.